I'm not dealing with nonsense during this. This is something that shouldn't have to be done to begin with. And this is something that I am not going to have these asshats make a mockery of. So I am going to bring Siren up, and I am going to mute myself and listen. And I'm actually going to boot myself down backstage because I think that this needs to be Siren and Siren only. I'll be backstage if he needs me, but I'm going to let him take the full floor. So hang on just a second.
Hello.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right, I'm going down.
Hey, everybody. I can't see the chat. I love everybody. Even those of y'all who don't like me very much. I noticed some of y'all were real brave with me not here. Noticed some integrity was running pretty short. I've already told most of this story. I told it when Truthy Magoo's girlfriend, Mrs. Magoo, she decided she wanted to try her hand at doing an advice stream. I was her first guest. And this broke her. She never did another one. So, where should I begin? Do I just start with the bang? Or start with the bang? So, when I was 12, I had an older friend who decided all of a sudden at a church function, because I could make paper airplanes that actually flew, that might be someone cool to hang around with. So we did. And all of a sudden, we stayed up. One thing led to another. And got curious with, and suddenly I was being touched in ways that were not appropriate for a 12-year-old. It's happened several times. It hurt like hell. It finally stopped several months later. When I became interested in my own needs. He decided I wasn't worth it anymore. No 12-year-old is ready for that. But anyway, that's not what y'all are really ready here for, is it? Anyway, met my wife. I'd been a pharmacist for a while. Um, One of my friends introduced her at my house. She was not the most stable. I found out why, because two of her brothers regularly abused her physically. And I determined that in order, early on, in order to remove her from that, I moved her in my house. We weren't ready for that. And we got along well, but there were problems because I was very old fashioned. I was raised in a very old fashioned home where if you were a one income home, the person who made the money went out and made the money, and the person who didn't make the money stayed home and took care of the house. And where she lived, she had never been ever made to take any responsibility in the house. She never even had to clean her own room as a child, ever, ever. That meant she never cleaned our house, ever. But I cared about her and I married her anyway. And arguments over the state of our house continued and continued and continued and continued. I caught on really early on that she had other issues mentally that were probably depression, anxiety, bipolar, something like that. Um, but I cared about her and I stuck by her. She also had a problem spending our money. Um, she spent all of our money, all of it. On payday, we were already back into negative balances in our checkbook. This continued, and a marriage can't survive like that. That was partly my fault because in the house I lived in, the my mother also made sure all the bills were paid. So that's just responsibility that I thought I should reasonably be able to pass to her because I was out making all the money. And we had three kids, and I was the one who made sure that they were all taken care of and stayed clean and stayed bathed and made sure they had food. She barely interacted with them at all. I would come home from work. She would have the older two shut up in a room across the house. They would be screaming for me. I would open the door. It would be totally dark in there. They would be covered in their own excrement. And I would clean them up. Would clean the room up. And she would be in the bedroom playing on her computer. And people would ask, why are you with her? And yes, I loved her, but at some point you just give up. And I gave up. Plus, we had at that point 3 girls, and I didn't want to split the family up. And I knew she had mental issues, and I didn't want to give up on her. So I gave up on me. Anyway, in the early 2000s in pharmacy, there was a shortage of pharmacists, and they were doing things like they were paying huge signing bonuses to get pharmacists to jump ship. They would do things like pay a $20,000 sign-on bonus provided you agreed to work for somebody for 2 years. And I started taking them. And I took one for Walmart. And that was the biggest mistake of my life. I interviewed and I interviewed with someone, and they were training someone to be a district manager who I did not get along with because I'd worked with him before, and he was completely lazy and did nothing but go out to the front and try to pick up girls that were way younger than he was, sometimes not 18. And I said, I'll take the job as long as you don't put me under him. They assured me they would not. So I took the job and took the money, and they put me under him. I was supposed to be the manager of the store, provided someone else did not take the job. That someone else did not take the job, and he did not give me that manager spot. He said he had misgivings about giving me that job. In reality, he just didn't like me. He left me in that assistant manager job and hired someone straight out of pharmacy school for that manager job. When I had been a pharmacist for 12 years at that point, Anyway, there was someone who I know some of the trolls mentioned who was absolutely batshit crazy, who accused me of sexual harassment when I had not done a thing. Walmart investigated and concluded that I had not done a thing. But when you even have a complaint in Walmart's system, you cannot be promoted or transferred to another Walmart for an entire year. So I was stuck. I begged and pleaded for a transfer to get away from this crazy woman. They would not give me one. But she's passed away now. She had a small child and then she passed away of breast cancer. And I'm very sorry about that. No one deserves to lose their mom that young, even if she is crazy as all get out. But anyway, a few months later, Walmart restructures. The district manager loses his job and is made a staff pharmacist under me. He takes this about as well as you would expect. We're working one day. He makes an error, gives someone the wrong medication. It's a small error. It's just like the wrong toothpaste. It doesn't have like some cleansing abrasive system or whatever. But I have to report it. And so I do. And he threatens me. He says if I ever do anything like that again, he's going to be all over me. So I report him like I'm supposed to. The next thing I know, I'm being dragged into the office and accused of theft. What has actually happened, trolls, is the Walmart had boxes of over-the-counter medications that we were allowed to use ourselves. And I had done so like everyone else. Also, at the time when someone was not able to pick up their medication at that moment, on occasion, we would advance them 2 or 3 pills until they could get there to pick up their medication. And I had done so like everyone else. That practice has since fallen out of favor, but it was very common then. They dragged me into the office and accused me of all this with the woman who was leading me on. Through all the questions, I broke down crying. She was leading me. Oh, you're doing so good. Didn't you just do all this? You took something that started with a B. I know you did. You're doing so good. And at some point, I would admit to anything if it would just let me keep my job. They had me write out a confession in the hopes of keeping my job. And I wrote it out. And then they fired me. Walmart is Satan in shopping form. It took me a while to find another job, but I did. In Louisville, I was gone several months. I came home from a family reunion. My wife was driving. She got pulled over speeding. They ran her driver's license. I had thought the stuff with Walmart was done because I hadn't heard from anybody for months. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I hear, "Can we see your driver's license?" I'm like, "Okay, why?" The policeman said, "Well, we just need to check something." I was like, "Okay." They did. And next thing I know, I'm going with the policeman to the police station. I'm not booked. I'm not under arrest, supposedly, but I have to be bailed out by my parents. I'm charged for all of those over-the-counter medications. And you will never hear from me the results of that. And you know why, Red Kim? You didn't quite do all your research. You would know why. You should do better research. Because all of that is expunged. It's as if it didn't exist. It's gone. Gone. It's bye-bye. Oh, it made it very difficult to hire me for a while. And here's the other thing you'll probably find pretty interesting that I'm going to put out there just because I don't have, just because, just for you, Red Kim. In that time, I'm not going to tell you about, we had savings of around $10,000. And my wife went through all of it. We had to move in with her parents because she refused to move in with mine for reasons I still don't understand. Her parents had 2 bedrooms. We moved our bed into the living room. In the meantime, CPS came. Again. Oh, I left that part out. Oh, they'd been there before. Yes, my parents called CPS before. They asked me if they could call at one point because they wanted to make sure that she got help. And I said it was okay. That was the second biggest mistake of my life. And I'm going to tell you why. The CPS case dragged on and on and on. It followed me from job to job to job. And then on Halloween 2013, my wife had a car accident while I was at work. It wasn't a big one. She hit a curb and flattened a tire. But she went to jail overnight because they determined that she was under the influence. Because she did that, CPS came and took our children away. Now, the other thing is February 24th, 2014. I go into the hospital for surgery. I come home with a bottle of Percocet 10 325 and a catheter bag. Because I originally didn't have the catheter bag, but I came out able to pee. I went home, slept for several hours, woke up, and could not pee at all. I had to go back to the emergency room, had my wife hold me down while they inserted the catheter in one of the most painful experiences of my life. I got to the kitchen to take my medicine so I could go to bed. I noticed my pills were short. There were only 2 possibilities from that. Either she took them or the pharmacy shorted me. But in my own drained, drugged, mind, I knew it would cause a huge fight. The only thing I could do would be to call the pharmacy in the morning and make sure their accounts were right before I had that fight. That's what I intended to do. So I took my medicine and I went to bed. I asked if she was going to come with me. She said no, she's going to sleep on the couch. I said okay, because she slept on the couch all the time at that point. I woke up in the middle of the night to take some medicine and change my catheter bag. And she was snoring really heavy and wet. She'd never snored like that before. I tried to get her to come upstairs. I couldn't wake her. So I just left her there. And then I woke up the next morning and she was completely unresponsive. And um, I thought she was breathing a little. So I called 911. They came. They started CPR. I followed them directly into the emergency room. They worked on her for 60 minutes, and I told them to stop CPR. But when they stopped CPR, they got a heartbeat. So they asked me if they could continue. And I said they could. And shortly after that, I lost it. And they got her back at 90 minutes. But then they told me that there was zero brain activity left. And that they were going to go on and take her to the ICU. In the meantime, during that, I had told the police what happened, and they went back to the house and performed a search of my house. And they found her wallet full of my pills. In the ICU, I had some of my friends visited, and at that point, I knew the foster family that had my three girls, and I called CPS and I told them that what had happened and that they needed to bring the girls to see her for the last time before I pulled the plug. And so they did. They said, "What's happened to mommy?" I said, "She's not coming home. She's not going to wake up." Then once they were gone, I had them stop all of everything. And I watched all the heartbeats stop. I need a minute. Okay. At that point, my mother and her best friend had driven up, and they told me that they um, didn't want me to stay at my house by myself. So they rented a hotel room and um, one for me by myself. And then I didn't know what else to do. So I sat there in the middle of it. I just started screaming. Because I did love her, but I didn't know what I was going to do by myself. Because the kids were still gone, and now she was gone. The next several days were all a blur. I mean, the funeral plans got done. I did them. I know I did them. When I got back, because I had her buried at back in Western Kentucky, where her family is. When I got back here, CPS decided that in order to be reunited with my kids, I had to go through psychological testing in Lexington with them in order to prove that I was fit immediately. And so I did. And so the results of that were that provided that I went through all the required counseling, there was no reason that I could not be reunited with the kids. That's important. Provided I went through all the required psychological counseling, there was no reason why I could not be reunited with the kids. I went through months of grief counseling. I went through months of regular counseling. I took the what was left of the life insurance that I had taken out on Megan because they ruled her manner of death as undetermined, and because they didn't rule it suicide, my life insurance paid. But I took what was left and I fixed every problem with this house that was there from where she took so terrible care of it. I fixed carpets, I fixed furniture, I fixed walls, I fixed everything. Everything. And they let me have the kids back. And things were fine until my oldest daughter decided she didn't want to live with me anymore. And she lied and told someone at school that I touched her. I had a nervous breakdown when I found out. I would never in 5 million years touch one of my daughters. They're my life. I would sooner chop my parts off the investigator for the police interviewed me and them, all three daughters, and determined that I had done nothing. But the next court date rolled around. I lawyered up with what was left of the life insurance after all the fixing. The caseworker for CPS had not done her visits for months. She had not visited since my wife died. She had not filed a report since my wife died. And suddenly, she filed all her reports and recommended that my custody of my children be permanently severed. For no reason. My lawyer and I had all the proof that I had done everything. But because I had not thought that I would need to prove that the caseworker had never shown up. Because why would I think to do that? How can you prove a negative anyway? You can't prove a negative. And you won't believe this. CPS had 7 caseworkers testify that my rights needed to be severed. Most of which had never seen me. Now, keep in mind, I had done everything all of these people said. And in the end, the judge agreed with them. You know why the judge agreed with them? He said, because the case has gone on for too long. Excuse me, CPS is supposed to be about keeping families together that can be together. And you will put drug addicts back together with their kids. I make 6 figures and I can't raise a child? If you think your state's CPS system is corrupt, your state has nothing on Kentucky. As it so happens, I know the foster parents for my kids very well. They've now adopted my kids, and I can see them whenever I want. Take that, CPS. Fuck you. Right in the ear. And to all you haters out there, that is all the real truth that you really need. And here's the thing. I know a couple of you used to have integrity and be against trying to dive into personal lives and cost people jobs. Where did that go? Where did it go? Mm-hmm. Are you so ass chapped over jokes or being called out over bad behavior or being jealous Is your nerve that struck? I'm going to go put on my face now and hopefully have a little more fun than this was. Good night.
I don't think there's anything else that I need to say, but I am going to play a song for Siren. So hang on just one second.
She left? She said once we arrested her, she moved home. What a cool question. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to run our victims with the Siren.
Say to every one of y'all who were here to support Siren, to show him support. Thank you all so very much. I know Siren wasn't reading the chat when this was going on, but I absolutely hate that this has happened to him only because he is my friend. You know, I remember when Kim Cole and Crafton Barnes were outraged because people dug into their past and made videos about them and cried and were so upset and so angry. And now they think it's okay to do this to somebody else that they don't even know. For what? Because he's on my panel and because he's not a shitty person like you? What did this man ever do to any of you? Nothing. He did nothing. The only thing he's ever done is be a supportive friend to me. The same as Lynn. And what you have done and what you did last night on the farce that you call a platform, every one of you are disgusting excuses for human beings. To bring all of this up for what? Kimberly Cole? Because you choose to support disgusting people who do disgusting things, so you turn and you're just as disgusting? To look big in front of the less than 300 people that you had watching, and the only reason you had those is because you had my name in the title and you had all the haters over there with you. So you want to bring up things that you know nothing about For what? For what? Because you're so miserable with your own pathetic lives that you have to make somebody else miserable and put out their most vulnerable and painful moments for content on your stupid ass channel for all of you to mock and laugh at? Who are you? Who are either one of you to do that to somebody? Neither one of you have 1 ounce, 1 iota of the integrity that Siren has. Neither of you. You want to know why you don't have viewers? You want to know why you don't have subs? You want to know why nobody watches you? Because you suck, and so does your channel. And I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that's on my channel right now, if you don't know, if you feel torn, if you think that you can't make a decision about watching their channel or watching mine, or you're on the fence because you like us both, I'm going to make the decision for you. If you in any way, shape, or form think that these people's behavior is okay, stay there. You're supposed to be an advocate. You're no fucking advocate. You're a disgrace. Not only to the human race, to mothers, to women. To hurt somebody like you have hurt Siren for nothing. For absolutely nothing. To come at Lynn like you did and tell her you were having an intervention because she is collaborating with me on a true crime case, and to tell her how stupid she is. Lynn has more integrity in her pinky finger than either one of you have in your entire bodies. You know, the Bible tells me that I have to forgive. And I forgive because that's what I'm supposed to do. But I won't ever forget this. I won't ever forget this. And every person that was over there participating in that bullshit last night, y'all don't like me? Great. Don't like me. I don't give a flying flip. I don't care if you like me. Matter of fact, I'm glad you don't like me, because I don't ever want to be associated with anybody who thinks that what happened on that channel last night is okay. And every one of you sorry ass scumbags that were on that channel and think you're some kind of advocate or you're so morally superior to any of us over here, every one of you, every freaking one of you are disgusting excuses for human beings. Y'all sat there and listened and watched what happened and the things that were being said about this man and Lynn. I don't even give a shit about me. I can take it. But these two, what did they do to deserve that? What did they do to deserve the absolute bullshit that was said about them last night? And my mods and my team, you want to talk about them too? I damn sure do have a team. And I may have some moles or some spies or whatever you want to call it. Guess what? If they are that type of person and they really think that the things we discuss in my mod chat are important enough to spy on, have at it. This is the freaking internet, social media, YouTube. It's not the effing White House or the Pentagon. So if you're a mole or if you're spying, spy this. Because I don't give a shit. Screenshot everything I say. Show it to everybody you want to. Because I don't care. None of you bother me. None of you are going to damage what I have built. And none of you will ever amount to anything. Ever. Now I'm going to end this live and I'm going to take a break because I'm a little heated. But I will see y'all at 9 o'clock for the parody panel. And I am far ready for some laughs. So I will see y'all in about 30 minutes. Thank you all so very much for the support for Siren. You have no idea how much it means to both of us, and I feel comfortable saying and speaking for both of us. Thank you. See y'all soon.